Hi everyone, today we're going to take a minute to talk about some strong thesis statements. It'll go. So a thesis statement, simply put, and we've been talking about this before, so I'm not going to bore you too much with too many details, but it's just a statement that identifies your topic and the main point of your writing. And it's supposed to give a clear idea of what the text is going to cover. Very often students, they come up with a thesis statement and then the paper has nothing to do with what's actually in their thesis statement, and that can be very problematic. For several things. It can hurt your credibility as a writer, and it can just cause a lot of confusion. So typically they go in the first paragraph. I have seen one or two where they go in the second paragraph and it works, but I would stick to the first paragraph. And it can make an argument. People mistakenly think in a research paper you can't have an argumentative type tone in a research paper, but you can, but you have to give a very, very clear reason for your position and defend it very well. So an easy way to, and this is just a simple thesis statement that would be quick and easy for anyone to do, is to divide it into two parts, a topic and a claim. So maybe your topic is social media can be harmful. And then your claim, what you're going to explore is that there are too many influencers who set unrealistic body expectations. So that's your thesis. Social media can be harmful because there are too many influencers who set unrealistic body expectations. There's nothing wrong with that thesis at all. Simple, to the point. Students also make the mistake of thinking a thesis has to be very complex, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. If you're going to be exploring that in your paper, then that's all you need to share in your thesis statement. Once you have your thesis, and hopefully you've already done this with your annotated bibliography, it's just doing that research to make sure that this is what you want to cover and that you understand the topic. That's why I had you in your proposal that you did for the class, tell me your working thesis statement and then talk about those research questions that you were going to have to explore in order to write your paper. So as always, and as I always tell you, thesis statements can be fluid. Go back to the article that we read, Research Starts with a Thesis Statement. Maybe you want to start with a question first, because it can tweak as you write your paper. There's nothing wrong with getting halfway through your research paper and deciding, hey, I think I need to go back and tweak my thesis. That is okay, 100%. I give you permission. So let's say in your research, you found a lot of articles that focused a lot on bullying. And so you decide, I want to incorporate that in my paper. So you take your original thesis and you decide to tweak it. Social media can be harmful because there are too many influencers who set up unrealistic body expectations, which can lead to bullying at school. So you're still hitting that unrealistic body expectations, which is what you really, really want to do, but you just incorporated something else because you are going to be addressing that significantly in your paper. So you just need to make sure it's included in your thesis statement. So let's pretend, again, that while you're doing research, you come across some information on TikTok trends and how they are impacting schools, and you decide, you know what, I'm not finding a whole lot about the influencers and body expectations, which actually you would, but for this example, let's pretend like you just couldn't find something, and you just find this more interesting. There were these TikTok trends a few years ago where to vandalize the school, and I teach dual enrollment at Siegel High School, and there was no soap in the bathrooms for about a month because the students kept stealing it. And so, you just see stuff like that and you're like, yeah, I definitely want to write about that. So take your original thesis and then just change it. Social media can be harmful because teens are easily influenced to follow harmful TikTok challenges that can lead to destruction of property or harm to others. There was also a very terrible TikTok challenge called Slap a Teacher, which luckily I don't know anyone who fell victim to that. So this is not an opinion paper, but you can go for that slightly more persuasive tone if you want to. So again, our original thesis, you can say social media should create strict guidelines for influencers because they are setting unrealistic body expectations. And that's a little bit more of a persuasive thing. And again, if you're going to go for persuasive, then you just need to be able to back it up with the facts. I would even go a little bit more specific here. TikTok, and this is actually, there's legislation about this right now, is that either TikTok should go away or there should be a stricter age limit, because I think right now it's 13. and they're talking about moving it to 16 or 17. So again, maybe just being very specific. TikTok should be banned for all teens under the age of 16 because the challenges promoted on this platform cause more harm than good. And if you go for that type of tone, then you're going to have to really back it up with the research that shows what's happening with these younger people and how they're being influenced. And that would actually, there's a lot out there, but that would be a very good thesis statement for that particular thing. Again, back up what you're claiming. Another thing you could possibly do is an although because thesis statement. Although many people use social media on a daily basis for income, influencers should have restrictions placed upon them because they promote unrealistic body expectations. So that's just another way you could potentially write a thesis statement, is just using that although because, making your claim and then backing it up. Things to avoid. Any variation on in today's society / world. I see that a lot. Actually, that's something that I remember vividly. I was in the break room and somebody came in and said, "Oh, I just had a paper that started with in today's world." It's just a phrase that has become way overused. The only time you should use something like that is if you're showing a progression in time. So if you're talking about something that happened in the past and then you're transitioning to something that's a little bit more modern, then that would be okay. So going kind of back to our social media thing, you could say in the past, there was no social media and teens only faced bullying at school. But in today's world, we have social media and you can see that the bullying continues for 24/7. So in something like that, that would be okay, but just don't start out with in today's world or in today's society, because that's actually implied that it's something modern and is happening right now. Avoid things like a 5-paragraph essay thesis statement. In this paper, I'm going to talk about social media influencers, bullying, and crazy TikTok challenges. It's a little bit too simplistic. There's technically nothing wrong with it, and if you did something like that, I might say, let's try to make this a little bit stronger, but there's actually technically nothing wrong with it. But we're trying to elevate to a higher level of writing, and so, but if you are really, really struggling and you just cannot think of anything else, then it would be okay. But just try to think, and because that also limits you just a little bit, and it kind of makes you think, oh, I just need 5 paragraphs in this particular research paper. When there's a 5-page minimum requirement, you don't want your paragraphs to be 5 whole pages or 1 page each. And so just try to go beyond that. And really anything that states in this paper, I am, because just go out and state it, basically. You don't need to tell us what you're writing about. Just say what you're writing about. Don't say in this paper I'm going to write about social media influences. Just say social media influences and then go into what you're going to discuss in the paper. So I hope that that was helpful. If you're still struggling with writing thesis statements, please let me know. I will be more than happy to talk over it with you on the phone. We could set up a Zoom, just whatever you need.